Welcome to the Local Marketing Podcast, brought to you by ThriveFuel. Now, here's your host, Jason Holmes.
Welcome, everybody, to the first Local Marketing Podcast. I want to introduce everyone, and if you could, you just tell me what beverage you're having. We're doing this around cocktail hour, so we thought it would be fun to feature a few adult cocktails we enjoy. Shannon?
So I am keeping it clean and simple. I actually am drinking Live Oak vodka from Coastal Bend Distilling on ice with a splash of water in our own cocktail glasses, which is nice.
Nice. Yeah, Shannon is our senior marketing consultant. Amanda, what do we got?
I'm drinking an American stout with coffee and vanilla from a brewery out of Flagstaff, Arizona.
Awesome. So it kind of keeps you awake while you're imbibing. Very cool. Amanda is either a brand manager or a chief campaign strategist, depending on where you look. So one of those two things. We're not sure right now.
Jack of all
Adam,
trades.
what do you got?
I've got a Allstadt lager. I'm actually going to be drinking it. This is a plug. Since UTSA is doing so awesome this year, I'm going to have my nice UTSA koozie for my lager.
Nice. I'm impressed none of you are drinking Miller Lite, so we dodged that bullet.
Yeah, we all have
also enjoying a ThriveFuel branded cocktail. It's a Larceny bourbon, so it's kind of a small batch bourbon, I think. So anyway, it's pretty good and the price was right. So
cheers,
okay,
y'all.
so jumping right into it, if you're just learning about us from this podcast, who we are, what we do, this is going to be the kind of shameless plug part of the show. We are ThriveFuel. We're a digital marketing company based in South Texas. We work with a lot of what we call local businesses. That doesn't necessarily mean local to us, although several of our customers are local to us, but really local businesses, local and regional businesses that are trying to compete with large businesses. So if you think of your local furniture store who might be trying to compete with someplace like Rooms to Go, or you think of a freestanding ER that might be trying to compete with huge hospital networks that may have a location in their local markets. Those are the types of customers we serve, as well as your CPAs, accountants, medical professionals of other types, building supply companies, really any kind of local company that you can think of that's trying to figure out marketing in today's day and age. That's who we work with. So if that is you, please check us out. It is thrivefuel.com, and we can definitely help you be intentional with your marketing dollars and get more for your money. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into the show and topics. Shannon, you have a bewildered look on your face. I don't know if that's because you can't hear me or if there's some other reason.
We're good.
All right, we're great. So what I wanted to talk about today is the ever evolving Google My Business world. I know we had an article about it last week on our website and we distributed it, but Google has made Google My Business more and more important for these local businesses. Really, it's almost become more important and gets more traffic than even their local websites. But last week they changed the name from Google My Business to Google Business Profiles. Did everybody see that?
Came across that the other day.
Yeah. So what does everybody think that's about?
Well, it's not unusual. Google's, always reinventing itself, trying new things, betas, platforms, put some, to sunset. It's what they do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like over the last few years, what they've tried to do is them and Facebook, they try to swallow the internet, like make everybody else's platforms less important. I mean, these are huge, not just huge, they're gigantic web companies, gigantic companies overall. And their products obviously become more and more important as businesses become more and more dependent on them. If you have, like, I've had the unfortunate experience of having my phone number attached to a business that wasn't mine on a Google My Business listing. I couldn't get my cell phone removed, so every weekend I'd get calls for that business, which is annoying. But you can that shows you how much traffic that Google My Business drives, and other directories too. But I think with them, they're changing a few other things, not just the name. Some of how you interact with the Google My Business listing. If you own the business or have claimed the listing, you'll be able to make changes directly on the Maps app and directly in search results. So that's something that's new. I think in the past, Google My Business was called Google Plus for Business or something along those lines. It goes back almost, I think, to Google Wave, which was 12 or 15 years ago. I mean, Google keeps trying to do things that aren't search, and the business listing seems to be the one thing that has stuck. They never get social, but they've gotten this thing. So
I kind of think it's more, it comes across more as a platform rebrand of sorts, like rebranding the name, right? So we're, for a business, still keeping a lot of what GMB can do for you in search results and Maps results. But, you hear the name like Google My Business, we have a verb and then something else, right? So Google My Business. And I think from a marketing standpoint, when you're talking to clients, or if you are a small business owner, you hear that, and the Google My Business doesn't really encompass what that actually is. And so I think shifting that name to Google Business Profile just kind of in a nutshell says what this platform actually is. It's your business profile. And, when we're talking to any kind of business, small or large, I find myself even calling it that, like, your Google My Business it's kind of a social media of sorts, but not really, but kind of, but it's this weird in between. So really your Google profile, when we're talking to clients. And so I think it's just a commonsensical name change for them from Google My Business to Google Business Profile.
Right. Yeah. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It's funny. I always thought Google My Business sounded funny because Google had turned themselves into a verb. Like you mentioned, I mean, you said you called it a verb, but it's not. I mean, it's a proper noun, right? So, but it's become a verb because you hear it on television. Oh, just Google that. Right. Nobody says Bing that. Nobody knows what that is.
It's both. It's a noun, a verb. It's because Google.
So it's Google turned themselves into a verb, and the only other company like that I can think of is Photoshop. You used to hear Photoshop that for me, clean that up. I think on CSI you'd hear that, Photoshop that for me, and they'd clean up a photo. Same thing with Google. It's search. But I mean, did you know, and we should know this, but we don't really work much in it, but Bing has places too.
Yeah.
It has 3-packs. Yeah. So does Yahoo.
3-packs and
So does Yahoo.
Places, Bing places for business. Yeah. You know why it's called Bing, right?
No.
Why they named it Bing?
Chandler Bing?
No.
You would think that.
No. It was named Bing because it's not Google. Yeah, that's I think that was Ballmer, because it's not I think it was Steve Ballmer, who, every time he'd lose an engineer to Google, he'd throw a chair through the window or something like that. And then they came out with Bing, and so anyway, the rest is history there. So no big really revelations with that change, but I think we need to watch it just because Google's always got a they have to continue to grow, which is hard to do when you're as big as they are. Did $182 billion in revenue in 2020. That's going up. You think about that. They did $160 billion in 2019, we have a pandemic, doesn't slow them down at all, right to 182 billion. So they've got to continue that growth pattern. They're going to leverage every piece of real estate that they have on the internet. So kind of interesting. So what's I guess the next topic you want to, I mean, I guess the biggest news on here, other than that, this is probably bigger than the Google My Business news. Actually, we'll skip to you, Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
The metaverse.
It ties right in. I mean, it's not, everyone's talking about it right now, the metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg, all in the news. But I more wanted to touch on it in the aspect that as of right now, it really has no effect on local marketing, but it could in the future. And I thought it would be an interesting concept to discuss what marketing within that kind of alternate reality type universe would be like, even for local businesses.
I have an idea. I think it would be product placement, kind of like we see on movies and TV shows, a la, Yellowstone, obviously Ram trucks, that is product placement. That crazy Ace Hardware plastic bag that was in, episode 1 of season 4. What was that about? Hello, that was product placement. Since Facebook has all the data on us, couldn't a local brand, local business do some sort of product placement to me personally when I'm in the metaverse, in whether I'm playing a game or I'm at a concert, whatever I'm doing, engaging, but they can deliver me product placement locally based on, people buying ads. And that's what the ads would look like. They would be product placement in the universe I'm currently in. I think that could be interesting.
I kind of imagined it a lot like, has anyone watched Altered Carbon? When
Mm-hmm.
like he has the like he's walking through the universe and like just ads coming at him until he bought that ad blocker. Like I kind of imagine like it's not going to start out that way, but it's going to be like that later on, where like you're walking, not even as subtle as product placement. It's going to be as obnoxious as you're walking down your alternate reality street and ad, just everywhere.
So here's kind of my take on it, right? If we think back 15 years ago or back to 2008, 2007, first iPhone, 3G, whatever, I'm watching a high definition YouTube video on a device, right? Who would have thought then, just average lay person, that 5-10 years from now, you can say, hey, you're gonna be able to stream any movie you want off this thing, and the whole other realm of things that were going to become possible with that, digital revolution, right? So many technologies came about that we really couldn't foresee, us, the non-tech engineers, right? So with something like the metaverse, I think it's important also to consider the ways in which brands could interact with us beyond like, okay, here's a product placed ad, or we're used to billboards of an extent or a display to an extent, but what are some things that we don't even know of that are going to be possible with this type of technology and interactions? And so for local business, or just any business, whether you're medium size all the way up to an international conglomerate, right? It's making sure that you have that digital foothold now. You think about a business that has a website that looks like it's from 2003, or you have a business that still doesn't know how to capture leads, or you have a business that's like, I know I need a Facebook, but I don't know what to. And those are the people that you need to be getting on this right now, because the metaverse is coming, and there are going to be so many avenues and ways in which you can leverage this for yourself, that if you don't even have a good website or any of this, you're just that much further behind. And so I think that really needs to be that wake-up call, going back to 2008, because I was in the cell phone retail space back then, right? So I was selling cell phones when the iPhone first hit, and there was no way you could have really predicted Snapchat, or TikTok in 2007, right?
Maybe.
But even going back to 2007, there wasn't really this thing is here and we don't know, but we know 10 years from now it's gonna be crazy, right? We weren't really thinking that way because we were just so fascinated with, oh, I can play MP3s on the touchscreen, right? But now we, at least as marketers, right, as digital marketing strategists and experts, we can learn from the past, as it were. Like we knew when Facebook hit, like we know this is can turn into something. And I think we need to start thinking about, metaverse, VR, AR, augmented reality. We need to start thinking in terms of, I don't know what this is going to look like 5 years, 3 years from now, but I know it's going to be wild. And I know there are going to be things available that we can't even conceive of right now. And so starting to plant those seeds, in the minds of our prospects, our clients, our businesses, things like that, just to start preparing, because, we don't know what's coming. We know generally that the metaverse, but what are all the implications? We'll find out when we get there, kind of thing. But
right.
Kind of how I've been thinking about it.
They put a snazzy name on something that's coming anyway in an effort to own it, to own the space. And they've made huge investments. I mean, owning Oculus, that purchase of Oculus is huge. Owning WhatsApp is a big deal. I mean, but when they bought WhatsApp, 5 years ago for something like $22 billion, most of the people in the United States didn't even know what it was. But that was a great buy. They bought Instagram for $1 billion. What a buy. I mean, Instagram is arguably as valuable as Facebook when it comes to how many people you connect to and all that. So and I wouldn't forget this, that before Facebook went public, the big knock on them was that they didn't get mobile. Okay. This was 2011, 2012. It's like, oh, what are they going to do for mobile? And it's like they seamlessly handled that problem. So as easy as Zuckerberg is to make fun of, because he doesn't seem like a real human being, he seems like very artificial. They're ahead of a lot. I mean, there never should have been a Facebook if Google knew what they were doing when it came to social and MySpace and everything. So
a fun thing that I always harken back to when it comes to Facebook, and again, this is a parallel when we think of things like metaverse, right? Or just the concept of augmented reality. When Facebook first hit, I was in college, MySpace was the big thing. And Facebook comes out and it was pitched as an alternative to MySpace. MySpace had the scene kids, MySpace had high school kids.
MySpace had the Facebook. Bands. They had the local and national.
Right. Bands. But then Facebook was this for college students, social network, right? And so you needed a university email to even create an account. And who would have thought 5 years later, like you said, they're of millions, if not billions of dollars. And, within 5 years, now they're adding, the business side, business pages and all that stuff, and how quickly that's, blown up and become such a huge revenue maker for them. And I think with metaverse, thinking the same thing, like it's a concept now, but 5 years, 7 years from now, it's going to be something unrecognizable that we never really could have seen the potential in, at least again, from our perspective here on the ground, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it's that first mover's advantage that always seems to pay off when it comes to these types of technologies. The first one to get it right, or to be ahead of that, is usually has a huge advantage. Everybody laughed at Tesla and Elon Musk and electric cars, and he was the first one to go big in it. I mean, everybody else kind of dabbled. It was like, this is kind of a hedging our bets, or make the environmentalists happy a little bit.
But it's not like Facebook is the only one in the sandbox. I mean, I saw an infographic the other day, and there's about 4 dozen companies that have been playing in this box for, 15 years, developing the technologies and the infrastructure to get this off the ground. Facebook was just the first one to come out and kind of put their stake in the ground.
So here's I think you bring up a good point, Shannon. So I think here's a way to think about it, right? So Facebook has trademarked Meta, right? META
Mhm.
versus the metaverse. And I think it's not unlike Facebook as a brand name and then social media. I mean, yes, they invented social media, but they don't own the term social
They didn't
media,
invent it though.
right? Well, true,
No,
but they don't own
they
that.
popularized it. I mean, and more so, I mean, Facebook seemed like something that was okay for adults to be on, you know,
Right.
like a platform rather than whatever the hell MySpace was.
Right.
Or, you
And
know,
so I think it's the same thing with when we need to be thinking about the metaverse, not exclusively a Facebook initiative. Like you said, there are so many companies in industries that are in this augmented reality design,
Yep.
right? So 10 years from now, when we say metaverse, we're really, this Pizza Hut is going to be part of that metaverse, right? Your
Yeah.
local, if local news still exists, right? Your local news could exist within the metaverse. So I think the Pokemon Go is a great example. I mean, that wasn't a Facebook thing. That was
No.
a Pokemon thing, but that was existing within this metaverse kind of concept. And
Yeah.
so as we think about that, as we start to kind of figure out what moves do we need to make as marketers, what moves do small businesses need to make, not so much in Meta with relation to Facebook and social media, but the metaverse in the sense of augmented reality as a whole.
no, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's all headed that way. And I think, the question from a marketing standpoint in my mind is, do the e-tailers, do the big e-tailers like Amazon and Walmart just get another huge advantage right away with some tools and easy way? I mean, they've already got, every item they sell in a database and photos and video and all of that. Does that get leveraged into this huge advantage into the metaverse and cut out local because locals are still trying to figure it out? Or is there a place for local to kind of jump ahead of those larger companies? I mean, they're not going to, maybe I misspoke when I said, look, Facebook shouldn't have happened with if Google knew what they're doing. But if you think about it, Amazon shouldn't have happened if Walmart knew what they were doing, right? Because they were so far ahead logistically and everything. But now you've got the largest e-tailer in the world in Amazon.
Well, I think we can think of it this way, right? So with what the metaverse could allow for a business, it's no different than what apps did, right? So we think of apps. Now, obviously, things like Uber and these delivery services, are
Airbnb,
publicly traded and they are what
Mhm.
they are now. But when you think about what these companies were at their inception before they were publicly traded, right? That was innovative. That
Right.
was, how do I take advantage of the technologies before me? You think, where can someone get a ride drunk at 2 a.m.? There's no taxis.
Yeah.
It's 2013, and that's
Or there are
there's
taxis, but you have to call them. You have to explain where
Right.
you are. You've got to jump through all these hoops. They're going to charge you to use your credit card.
exactly.
It's all
And
this
so
friction. It's all this
Mhm.
friction that Uber took out of the equation.
And I think to answer your question, what does this mean? Are these bigger companies? Yes, I think undoubtedly the Amazons, even the Best Buy, right? I mean, Best Buy has managed to survive this long in a world of Amazon, Newegg, all these things.
Barely.
As opposed to like Circuit City that, I mean, they
Right,
sank
right.
almost
Circuit City
instantly,
sank
right?
completely,
Best
yeah.
Buy managed to figure out how to continue to survive. But, in that space, when you think about small businesses, I think a lot of it too is thinking of what aren't they offering that I can do that's going to make a a purchaser in my area want to go through me rather than them? What can I do? Because even as you get large, right, any kind of large industry is going to come at the sacrifice of some sort of convenience, right? Some convenience is going to get lost. And I think for local businesses, it's finding out what aren't they doing that I can capitalize on. And so when it comes to the metaverse, what is Pizza Hut not doing that I could fill in and do better?
Oh, better pizza.
Better pizza, maybe a
Yeah.
better delivery system or service, or a better way to interact, because, bringing up the idea of Walmart should have beat Amazon. Walmart should not have allowed Amazon to exist. But when you think about these companies that are just set in their ways, local newspapers, great example, right? They're so set in how businesses always run that they neglect to see the present and the future. And so they don't invest in the future, and they allow Amazons to come in. They allow Best Buy to survive, right? And so, again, I think that's kind of where that's going to translate, is businesses being adaptable and finding the innovative ways to stay relevant.
So I could foresee local boutiques where I'm in the metaverse, and I am trying on clothes, from the local boutique. I don't have to leave my home. And then whatever I decide that I want, I purchase in the verse and can drive to the store and pick it up, or it can be droned to me, if they, depending on
Delivered
how
in
far
some
the
way,
future.
right.
Yeah, delivered. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's I could see shops.
Yeah, health and wellness consultations, if I'm looking at getting, some facial work done, there's all kinds of ways local businesses are going to be able to capitalize on this space, because we still, as humans, want what we want now. And so if you can bridge that gap where I'm providing this information and I can get what I want now, on a local level, I think that's going to be helpful. But a lot of that is to Adam's point earlier about you have to be thinking ahead and really building that infrastructure. A lot of this is really going to be hinged on data, and what data do you have of your customers, so that you can be building those avatars and profiles.
Well, that's a good segue. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the metaverse. I think that's a pretty good segue into your topic, Shannon, which was CRMs.
Right. And CRMs are something that, major brands and businesses have.
Talk about that though. A lot of local businesses, you say the word CRM or the acronym, and their eyes go wide. What does that mean? What does that mean?
So it's customer relationship management. And essentially it's a piece of software that allows your company to kind of gather all the interactions that it's had with customers across all channels. So whether it was an SMS, an email, Facebook Messenger, phone call, however that communication took place, it stores it all there. Plus, it can kind of automate a lot of processes in that marketing and sales funnel, channels. I mean, it's a really important tool. It's going to help. It helps to foster customer loyalty. It can forge healthy revenue, but it can be a little overwhelming, because there are hundreds of CRMs out there, and it's really about finding the one that's the best fit for your needs. They all have different features, benefits, but really the most popular ones are going to be lead management CRMs, sales management CRMs, contact management, marketing, and then help desk customer support. And then you have some that are kind of hybrid and do a lot of those things. But really the beauty is housing all of that customer data. Now you own it. It's first party data. You can leverage it in a way that's best for your company. You can personalize communications with your customers now, because you have information about what they've engaged with, what they're interested in, what they've purchased. You have their email, you have their, their physical address, all of these things that you can leverage to now offer them, information, offer them value, offer them, opportunities. And then even more so is automating kind of communications with the customers in there. I mean, we use a CRM
Right.
Everything we do is right in there. I know I don't have to go to my text message or my email. I mean, everything is there.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think what happens, it's kind of what happened in web development years ago, is when consumers started to use websites to do important things like banking or like booking travel or anything that was like mission critical, that if this doesn't work, I'm going to be stuck somewhere, or it's not, or I'm going to be upset, that it raised the bar for what they expected of even local websites.
Yes.
So I don't have time for your slow, clunky website that doesn't work on my phone. It's the same kind of deal. I don't need you to call me to tell me that something I'm interested in has made it to the store. I just need a text message.
Mhm.
Hey, that thing you were looking at, it's here. You should come get it. Or, your car is ready, or whatever it is, an appointment notification. People don't have time to have long phone conversations. And a lot of times they don't answer their phone anyway.
Mhm.
There's something like 20 times more text sent than actual phone conversations now. And it was
Yeah.
just 10 years ago that SMS messages caught up with phone calls, and in the sheer number. Now it's in multiple factors of more text messages than phone calls. And so, yeah, you've got to be able to communicate with your customers through automated emails, automated workflows, keeping them informed. You can't just run a sale in your store, put it in the newspaper and expect people to come to the store, or put it on television even and expect people to know about it, because we're time shifting. I might not watch that show that you advertised in for another week or two. And by the time I see it, the sale's over, the product's gone. So you've got to get it out there in real time where people are. That's social media, and then digital in general, and then pushing out these notifications to your biggest fans, because
Yeah.
you don't want people pissed off when they miss something in your store.
Not only that, but we have become conditioned very quickly because of big tech as it relates to communication, where if I start a communication with a business or brand, I expect immediate feedback. And that may be phone call, it may be text, it could be a web chat, it could be messenger, it could be Instagram chat, but I expect immediate response. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night. We've been conditioned as consumers that should be the user experience. And so as a business, especially, kind of on the local level, you have to have, be looking at putting processes in place where you can automate those inbound communications, even if it's after hours. And
Right.
CRMs can help with that, can create
Right.
workflows.
Well,
to
yeah,
do that.
notifications for your staff to do things,
Mhm.
adding tasks for your staff to, don't forget to call Mrs.
Mhm.
Jones, don't forget to text her,
Yeah.
don't forget this. And so, yeah, just operating your business, it's almost impossible in 2021 not to have some type of a customer relationship management system.
Plus a database for your
Yeah,
customers that's easy
exactly.
to pull and update and edit, instead of just an Excel doc that's going to overwhelm you. And
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the way to think about that, when we talk about databases, is that it's a dynamic living database, right? When we think about what a CRM can do, it's dynamic. It's not a spreadsheet that just sits there statically waiting for you to do something with it, right?
Yeah.
These CRMs. And I want to circle back to something Shannon brought up. She kind of like briefly alluded to it. And it's this idea of being adaptable, right? So we've been in the marketing space for a while. We've dealt with all sorts of different types of CRMs, right?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Jason.
Previously I worked in the insurance space, and they used other CRMs that I had never, used before. And one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of these big name CRMs were designed for big name, large scale businesses, right? And so, Shannon, you said it's something, you mentioned CRM and people's eyes get all wide, or I think Jason mentioned it, but the idea that you go to like a boutique, or if you're an archery shop, or just something where it's very small scale, locally owned, yeah, something, and if they've never worked in these types of fields, they're not going to know what that acronym stands for. And a lot of those CRMs we think about were never designed for the small business owner, right? Not designed for, an art gallery, just trying to keep tabs on their clients and sending emails and all those types of things. And so we talked about it earlier about being adaptable, and what we offer, what we use internally, and thus what we put in place for our clients, our ThriveFuel 360 is just that. It's CRM, but meant for the smaller scale. It's not, not meant for your large State Farms and Allstates and AT&Ts. It's meant for the local restaurant, right? A local boutique and all these things.
Yeah. Even though, well, it's kind of what's happened over the years is a lot of the best features of these huge CRMs, like custom installs of things like Salesforce and these legacy systems that have been around for literally decades, the best features have come down to these cheaper options. And so what I would encourage any small business to do is, if, yes, we have our own CRM that we offer to folks. Adam mentioned ThriveFuel 360. You can go to the website, check it out, ThriveFuel360.com. It's not free. We're more than willing to walk you through it, and it's an inexpensive investment in your business. But if you're not even ready for that, download something like, or start a trial with something like Zoho, start a trial with something like HubSpot. And then when you realize that you need marketing tools related to that HubSpot install, then you can move to something like ThriveFuel 360, which is 1/10 of the cost of a full-blown HubSpot install, right? So, and easily migrate, because then it's more about the concepts of creating a database of your customers and communicating with them in that way. And then you can add those concepts are transferable across platforms. And then you've got somebody who can help you to move to something that can do everything that HubSpot can do, just at a lower price.
Yeah,
I'd get used to it. And frankly, small business owners are too busy running their businesses to be expert marketers, but they can see the potential in those types of tools, and then hire somebody to do it for you that is going to be able to get you a return on that investment. So,
and one of the things I want to, make a point when it comes to CRMs is this is really meant for any industry, right? Any brand in any industry space can benefit from something like this. When I'm talking to some of my clients, I mentioned, it doesn't matter if you're in the medical space, arts, retail, hospitality. Everyone has a similar process, and that is, there are people that don't know about me that could use my services or products.
Right.
There are people that know about me but haven't made a purchase, and then there are those that make purchases. So really, from the unknowns to what we call leads, to finally a client, a customer, a subscriber, or whatever. And regardless of your marketing efforts, everything should be, how do we get leads, and how do we convert those leads to paying clients, customers, subscribers, purchasers, whatever.
And then advocates. Yeah.
Advocates
for your brand.
Advocates and ambassadors. And there's no better tool to do that. You can do all the social media you want in the world. You can do all the email marketing on its own that you want to do in the world, all the billboards, newspaper, whatever. But if you're not actually actively harnessing, capturing, harnessing, and converting, that's all really for naught. And the fact is like we said, a lot of the best aspects of these platforms have started to trickle down. Now's the time. And we go back to, we were talking about the metaverse, right? This is another one of those things that, regardless of your brand type and brand size, you need to start getting on and harnessing that data, capturing that data, because this is the only way you're going to thrive. You can't just walk into the metaverse and kind of look around with deer, in the headlights what do I do with all this stuff? Where do I go? Now's the time to start planning your path there.
Well, and even today, all of that data you can use in a really intelligent way to market to either your current customers or those that have engaged with you in some way, because you can filter that CRM based on their interests or their purchases. And then you can market to them based on that. That's an intelligent way to market. If I own a wellness spa and I have people that have shown some interest in this particular service or have purchased this particular service, and I'm going to run a special, now I have all the data in my CRM of customers, those customers. I can now download that, run campaigns in social media just to those people or create lookalike audiences. I can now that I have their physical addresses, I can plot the latitude and longitude of their homes and deliver streaming, OTT commercials in there. I can deliver emails right into their inbox, SMS messages, specifically to those that are probably most going to be interested in that specific product or service. So you can get really granular, which means higher conversions for you.
You know what, Shannon? I'll drink to that.
Okay. Let's drink that.
Okay, well, the next topic, Adam, you had social influencing and how brands can use known people, recognizable names and figures for legitimacy. And that's something that we've done a little bit of with a couple of clients. Shotgun was one of them, Shotgun Seltzer here in Texas, and using some influencers. But tell me what you think about where that's going.
So I don't even think it's so much where it's going. I mean, with anything, everything's going somewhere, right? I think the topic of the day here is metaverse. And so everything's always kind of going somewhere. But I think influencing is one of these marketing tactics that doesn't get enough attention at the smaller scale level.
Yeah.
Right. So, we think about the term social influencer. And when I hear that term, I don't know about, you guys or anyone else listening, but when I hear social influencer, the first thing that comes to my mind is, the Instagram influencer. I think that's even a coined term, right? Instagram,
sure,
influencer, Snapchat. We think of these social viral personalities that collaborate with brands, and a lot of it has been clothing, jewelry, stuff that you could easily sell on a digital platform like Instagram, Pinterest,
Health and fitness.
Snapchat, right? But really, the concept isn't new, right? So like, Amanda, I'm going to pick on you. Like, who's like a high profile social influencer that you can think of?
One that's like influenced me, because
yeah, sure, yeah, any yeah.
I mean, nobody really, but that's because
nobody's influenced you. That's what,
okay.
Everybody thinks.
Nobody that I can think of, like
there's
off of
one name
Instagram.
everybody's thinking about right now.
All right, so right here, Michael Jordan and Nike.
Oh well.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. I was trying to think of like an influencer off Instagram, but there's tons, but like
right, and that kind of goes back to my point, right? When I think of this term, that's what comes to mind. But really, when you think about it, social influencing has been around for, I mean, who knows how long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
all about who is that? What is that personality? What is that viral face or name that instantly I make an association, right? So, I mean, when I was kind of thinking this through, I mean, Michael Jordan and Nike, right? You cannot get more social influencer than that. I mean, it's 25, 30 years later, and the dude still has shoes named after him, right? That are sought after year over year over year. And so the whole idea, when you really boil it down, is who is that personality, or what type of personality can legitimize your brand. And it doesn't
Right.
have to be a celebrity.
No,
Right?
but it
No.
depends on your, I mean, there's more and more examples of it all the time
Exactly.
because it's so easy for something to go viral. I mean, when I said everybody's thinking of the same name, I was thinking of Kardashian, any of them, right?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
what they,
But nobody was thinking of the same name, but
nobody was, exactly.
Kardashians
Exactly.
are.
But I mean, somewhere in
that's
your
very
head, you're
celebrity.
thinking, yeah,
Somebody.
but that doesn't lend to me. That doesn't make it legitimate,
Influence.
but to a lot of people it does, you
Mhm.
know.
Oh,
The one
yeah.
girl we worked with for Shotgun, you looked at her other posts and she had the products everywhere, like tagged in her photos, and even her plastic surgeon was a tagged business. Okay.
Yeah.
So anything can be used, traded, tagged as
So
a
here's one
product.
direction we can think about, right? As I've been thinking through this idea of social influencer, I'm gonna get some more light in here. It's dark, but again, we keep kind of going to these social personalities.
Mhm.
But if you're in a place, and I know, we have clients all over the country, so they might not get this reference, but for those listening in the South Texas area, you're gonna know who I'm talking
Oh,
about,
I know.
right?
I know where you're going.
But you think Gary Moses.
Gary Moses, brother
Mhm.
Gary.
Right? And so the point being, so for those of you who don't know who Gary Moses is, it doesn't matter because I'm pretty sure your town has one,
Mhm.
right? Or your community has one, or your industry space has one. You have that person that everyone else is going to know. So they might not even be a social personality in the sense of they're on Instagram or they're on TikTok or they're on Twitch. It's the fact that even if I'm a local business, just I'm not trying to sell to people in Arizona or Connecticut or whatever. Who is it in your area that you can connect with that's going to bring some legitimacy to your brand? Now, of course, we can extend that to the digital space, right? So, we've got a client that is in the sports industry realm. Why aren't you taking advantage of all of these Twitch viewers that love to watch Madden players or watching the NBA 2K game series players? You've got streamers that are getting 65 over 100,000 views per stream. They have endorsements. They endorse companies.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think for a brand, I use the sports agency as a picking on them for a minute, but this really extends to any kind of brand, right? What type of personality and who is it in your area or in your space that's going to lend credibility to what it is that you do? Just having their name associated with your brand, your service, or your product. And so, like I said, thinking through this, and part of it is breaking that misconception, breaking this idea that social influencing only means it's the Kardashian who's getting however many followers or however many views, right? And it's
a celebrity. It's the celebrity bandwagon endorsement that has always worked,
right?
Again,
we're going back to Michael Jordan and Nike, right?
Or long before that, and all. I mean,
and now anybody can be influencer.
Right.
Enough followers,
exactly.
You can be an influencer in your space. But I mean, we've talked about it before. On the local level, there are ways you can utilize what's in your community for social influencing, and not even local celebrities. You can utilize people within your business to support you and show the genuineness of your business through, like, within your company too. Like if you have employees who spend a lot of time on social media, you can utilize their following and things like that. It's more about
a lot of times it's just employees that have really big families in a small town.
Exactly.
And
it's about boiling it down,
featuring them. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your on your goals and who you're trying to reach. I mean, look at the ocean spray guy a few months ago on TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just drinking ocean spray on his skateboard with a
Fine.
Fleetwood Mac song. Everybody saw that, and I mean, billions of views on that one video, and then he's a celebrity. So,
And I'm going to circle back really quick because I can't get off this. Shannon, you got me started on something here. It's metaverse concept. How does that get adapted into the metaverse, right? A TikTok of a guy skateboarding down the road, drinking ocean spray. What does that look like in the metaverse?
Well, we get
And it's more of a hypothetical.
We get to see it, feel it, touch it, and he can give us a sip of his ocean spray. If you're in the metaverse, right?
And that's what
Yeah,
brands
it would be
start
like-
thinking about.
Well, have you all seen Free Guy? That's what I imagine. No,
No.
with Ryan Reynolds. Okay, well,
How have I not seen this? Or maybe I have. I mean,
I
we
know
know
it's
me, I
good.
don't
It's a really,
remember.
it's funny, but I mean, it's a video game. It's a video game that like you put your headset on and you hop into, and then they have like
Oh, it's
AI
the
figures.
The
Yeah,
new one. The new one. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking
it's
about.
new. It's really
Yeah.
came out like this year.
Yeah.
But I
months
mean, you hop in and there's like different things you can do within the universe and ads and things like that. So like, yeah, like if that would be you hopped in and then the skateboarding guy goes by you, it would probably be AI, not the actual guy. But you know,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
These
You'd
are
be
ways
busy.
we can start thinking about this, and the
Right.
ways small, medium, large size businesses can need to start thinking about this now, because again, it's coming. It's always been here. You mentioned this movie with Ryan Reynolds that just came out. Well, remember, I emailed you guys that
That book.
picture of that book that came out in 1992. And I'm gonna plug. I don't know if I can plug it legally or whatever.
can.
So
Do it.
I can.
Yeah.
Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash, 1992. I cannot recommend this book enough. It was such a fun read. I think I got through it in less than a week. It Sumerian mythology with metaverse concepts from the 90s that are probably more accurate to what a metaverse can be than I think anything that has come since. Being that far away, his vision of what this was going to look like. I will say I haven't seen the Ryan Reynolds movie, but I have an idea that Neil Stephenson was more pinpoint on what the metaverse can be and will be than any mind that's come since.
Yeah. I mean, there was a Fox series back in the early 90s called, I think it was just called VR. And it was pretty much spot on to where this thing seems to be going. You know, if you remember Minority Report.
Oh yeah.
I mean, aspects of that with ads jumping off of different areas, the combination of the real world with the metaverse is there. It can be a lot of different things.
well, and they just came out with the gloves. They're working on the gloves.
Yeah,
that
I
would
saw
help
that
with
this
touch
morning.
screens and stuff,
Yeah, and
so
it's going to get crazier and crazier. So
it does kind of sound like the beginning of an episode of Black Mirror.
yeah, a little bit,
To
little
me,
Black
every
Mirror-ish.
time when I was watching the Mark Zuckerberg talk about it, like in his keynotes, I was like, yeah, this sounds like the beginning of an episode
Right.
of Black Mirror. It looks
Right.
like the beginning of an episode of Black Mirror.
Right.
But I mean, it is coming. I don't know how fast.
We got to make sure that we got to plug the Iceland tourism video.
Oh, yes, that was.
So when
we should
Cutter
post a
does the
link. We
notes
should
here,
post
make
a
sure
link to
you
that.
link in the show notes the Iceland tourism video, because that was just awesome. If you haven't seen it, Google that. It'll be on it's on YouTube and everywhere else. So this is a great discussion, guys. Kind of big ideas for local, not really super actionable for local right now. So other than the CRM, they need to be thinking CRM like yesterday.
Yeah.
And being aware of what Google's doing with places and Google business profiles and GMB going away and all of that. Anybody have any final thoughts on everything we talked about?
I just want to issue an apology to everybody. I did not think or pre-think of the sun going down at 5:30. So I'm sorry for the progressively darker tone that my feed has been giving in the last 20, 30 minutes.
Not a problem. Next time, turn on a lamp.
Yeah, you just
All
need
right.
a lamp.
I'm gonna tell you guys, I opened up a second monitor, and I have a white screen, full screen, so I can get some light on
Yeah,
you.
So
you
we can
have a
see you?
nice.
You,
It's
you
That's
really
what's
still
happening.
look like you're just
glow.
in this dark room.
No.
like-
And then that's with it off.
Now put it back on. See, so put it back on.
There we go.
See,
Right,
that's
there
a
you
really nice. You got that nice bedroom glow. Yeah.
All right, this might just have to be the way we do it now. Yeah.
I think this is, this is supposed to be a nice podcast, not a bedroom podcast.
Rated everyone. Rated everyone. That's
Yeah,
right.
this is rated for everyone. This
Rated
isn't
for
rated R.
everyone. We kept it at PG.
This isn't a typical game
PG-13.
night. We'll put it that way.
right. Exactly.
A PG-13.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll do another one of these probably in 2 weeks. And then after that, our goal is every week. Send any of your questions to info@thrivefuel.com. If you have show topics or things you'd like us to cover, questions, anything like that, send it there, info@thrivefuel.com, and we will add them to the show. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, wherever you are getting this.
Awesome.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.